craft me a card, and I enjoy crafting for the crafter, and that is you. Thank you so very much for joining me today. This is what I have to share with you. The idea of creating a card based on the inspiration of the invitation. Now, we receive these invitations, whether it be through the mail or now very common email. So why not create a card to go with our gift? So here, let's work on this one. My sister gave me this invitation. Actually, she placed an order with me. She wanted a card to go with the invitation of this Sweet 16. Her name is Isabella. I thought it was so cute what they did. Isabella and Company instead of Tiffany and Company. And when I saw this invitation, I was elated. Number one, a big one, is that I love this color. It's like that minty teal. We actually refer to it as a Tiffany mint color. And so I immediately knew that I wanted to include a bow, and I wanted it to be a poofy satin bow. So in order to get it poofy, I said, okay, it has to be a little loose. So I decided to fold the ribbon and just place a loose rubber band right in the middle, and that gave it that feel of poofiness. And this is just a rubber band that you use on your hair. I believe I got these at the Dollar Tree for my daughters, so I just grabbed a white one and I placed it right in the middle. This invitation also inspired me to pull out a We Are Memory Keepers 3D embossing folder. Now, this is an old embossing folder before the whole 3D embossing folders came out from Sizzix. So I knew I wanted to use this embossing folder to give it that cushiony look. Okay, so I get my card base, and this is the back of the card, especially crafted for Isabella by Anna at Craft Me a Card. And then I put, see how your card was made on YouTube, and then I put the title of the video. So they could find it in case they would like to see how it was crafted for them. And who knows, maybe I can get a new subscriber or two. Okay, I grabbed my embossing folder and I cut a piece a little bit smaller than my card base. And I go ahead and I place it inside my embossing folder and I run it through my machine. You can use the same machine you use for die cutting to run these embossing folders and get the embossed impression on your paper. My die cutting machine of preference is the Vagabond by Sizzix, the Tim Holtz Vagabond. And I like it because it's electrical, and I've literally had it for about 7 years, if not more, and it still is running like new. And this is just my opinion. I am not by any way associated with any of these companies. Everything that I use is bought by myself. They don't even know I exist. But I am a fan of many of these products, and I do give my honest opinion on everything. Okay, what you've been seeing me do here in the background is just trimming my cardstock because the embossing folder is not long enough to fit on the base that I use. So I'm just trimming it, and this just means that I'm going to have to use a larger border, which is no big deal. You'll see, it'll look nice. Okay, so now I bring the color of my card base, and it's this minty teal, this Tiffany blue colored cardstock. And I just go ahead and I go around with my X-Acto knife and I trim the edges, and this will give me a perfect fit for the first layer of my card. As I'm playing around with the colors here for the card base, I realized that I would like the first layer to be white. So I go ahead and I cut a frame that is white, and that's going to be the first layer on my card. So then I adhere it to the card base just with some liquid glue. I trim my Tiffany blue cardstock to be a little bit smaller than my card base, because remember I had cut it initially the same size as my card base, but now having the white as a border, this piece needs to be a little bit smaller to fit right in the middle with a little bit of white edge on it. Just like that. I bring in a metal die that's Happy Birthday to You, and I cut it out about 3 times, and this is because I want to glue one layer on top of the other just to give it some more thickness and make it stand out a little bit more. So just by bringing in some liquid glue and these fine tip bottles, I go ahead and I layer these one right on top of the other. Using a pinching motion to bring the ends together and some pressure, this piece becomes one.
And two become one. Ah, sì, il amore.
I'm sorry, I'm so silly. But anyways, here we go. That's the piece. Okay, so next I bring in some trim that I got at Hobby Lobby. And using a hot glue gun, I just go ahead and I place some glue on here and I stick it onto the bottom part of the card. Just like that. I do flip it over and I add a little bit of glue on the ends just to secure that trim in place. Wrap it around the card just to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere, that it doesn't grow legs or something. Okay, now of course I needed to add some gems to this card. So bringing in some flat back gems, I go ahead and I place Guillotin glue on the little parts where the embossing folder has the figure that the ends meet. I go ahead and I add glue to these little circles and I add these gems to each one of these. Okay, so once I had all the gems in place, I wasn't quite content of how the look of just having the white and mint border around the card. So I wanted a little bit more bling. So I brought in some silver glitter paper, and yes, this gave it the look that I was looking for, something a little bit more sparkly. It's Tiffany, hello!
It just needed more sparkle and shine, dear.
Yes, thank you. Now that looks much better. Okay, so now that that's settled, I go ahead and I grab some regular tacky glue and I add it to the back of the sentiment and I place it on the top part of the card. Time to bring the poofy bow in, and using some hot glue, I go ahead and I add this right in the middle of the trim. And hot glue is the best glue to work with when it comes to dealing with cloth. Although I've also used tacky glue, and that seems to also work fine. It just takes longer to dry. This hot glue is just a lot quicker. Okay, I trim my silver piece here, just a little bit bigger than my mint piece. I cut the inside piece that will not be seen off of this glitter paper just to take some weight off of the card, and in hopes to be able to use this piece in future projects, I go ahead and I add liquid glue all around and I place it right in the middle of the card base, leaving a small white border around. Alright, it's the turn for the mint layer to go on, and just by adding some liquid glue, I go ahead and I stick it on top of the glitter paper. Now our top layer that is all ready and embellished, just go ahead with liquid glue again. Go ahead and stick that on top of the mint color paper.
Ooh, ah.
I love that effect. Okay, so I know this bow is too big to not have something right smack in the middle of it. So I find this little piece that I've had for many years, and I've always waited for the perfect time to use it, and I think now is the time. So I know I want to incorporate the number 16 somehow. So I am going to go ahead and cover that little bar it has with some of the same ribbon that I used for the bow. And I secure it in place using the hot glue gun again.
Don't forget to burn the edges to avoid that fraying now.
Okay, so now this piece is ready to be stuck on the bow. And again, using the hot glue gun, which is silicone glue, I go ahead and I place this right in the middle of that white satin poofy bow. I went ahead and I die cut the number 16 out of that mint colored paper, and using the help of some tweezers, I go ahead and I place some hot glue on these numbers and I stick them on top of the embellishment that we put on top of the bow. And for some added shine, I go ahead and I add a little bit of stickles, and this is the crystal color, which has a little more of a green tint to it. I just go ahead and I place it on top of the 16. That looks very nice. Then of course I need to add my corners, just to balance the eye out. So I add them, and here's a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. Alrighty, that completes our Tiffany and Company inspired card. Isabella, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you love it. Thank you so very much for joining me. I hope you get inspired. I hope you create and be happy. I invite you to please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit the notification bell, like, and comment. Thank you so very much for your support, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Come on, corner. Work with me here.